Welcome to the 2011 reunion of the Treasure Island Officers Group. This reunion, our third, was moved to the East Coast to Front Royal, Virginia, and was hosted by Renee and Diane Lariva at their home in Front Royal. As you can see, the nature and the pace of our activities have modified somewhat from our days on Treasure Island. But the first evening began with an opportunity for relaxed conversation and the opportunity to chat among old colleagues and friends around a dinner at the Lariva's lovely home. The next morning, we drove to the Quantico, Virginia area to visit the recently opened Marine Corps Museum. Before entering the museum, we stopped for a group photograph in front of the entrance. But before we could assemble ourselves, this group of old folks showed up and stood in front of the camera. But don't let appearances fool you. We may have changed in appearance, but the personality of this group is as rowdy and as fun-loving as always. If you have any doubt, just look at the expression on Irma's face and try to guess what was going on at the time the photo was taken. Okay, on to the museum, where we were met by our friend and colleague, Rich Wild Bill Cody. Bill is a superb volunteer guide at the museum and was our host for the tour of the facility. We spent a couple of hours at the museum visiting its various displays and following the history of the Marines. Then it was followed by a stop for lunch at the Tun Tavern. Here, Rich continued to give us a history of the building and the artifacts in the Tun Tavern and introduce us to the assembled diners. Then the level of detail we had absorbed, together with the various beverages consumed at the Tun Tavern, began to take their toll. As you can see, we started to lose our focus. Well, then after an enthusiastic dinner at a Mexican restaurant that night, we gathered together at a nearby restaurant for breakfast. Then it was time to gather outside for a final group photo. Due to a conflict, Kent had to leave the group that morning, but the rest of the gathered assemblage took off for Harper's Ferry area for a tour of the historical sites. Then, as you can see, the weather started to turn a bit cooler. In fact, so much so that George even had to abandon his shorts for long trousers. Then, as the others continued their walking tour, George decided it was best if he stopped and took a brief rest. Given his medical background and the obstacles that he's overcome, the rest is well deserved, and at any reunion, George, we're more than delighted to rest with you. Well done, good friend. Then the day concluded with yet another meal at the Lariva's, followed by a time of relaxation and reflection and thoughts about our next reunion to be held in 2 years. Okay, now we need your help. Here, Carl is trying very hard to think about where we should locate our next reunion. Or, it wasn't clear, perhaps Carl was trying to figure out where he was at that point in time. In any event, let's help Carl and the rest of us suggest the next venue for our reunions. So far, the 3 West Coast locations suggested have been San Francisco, San Diego, or Monterey. Let us know your thoughts, sharing them with everybody so that we can plan in 2 years to meet again for a Treasure Island Officers Reunion.